This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
A couple of reactions to our previous conversation. Paul says this: I'd like to see officials and coaches get back to the days when they argue it out. I miss this as a fan. I do too. And nothing really ever, I never saw an official over, oh yeah, hey, you know what? You're right. we're gonna overturn this. But I do miss the manager running out and, you know, having a conversation or something along those lines at home plate.
Yeah, one of those insane moments where they just completely lose their mind, right? And they're I mean, let's go Grant McCaslin against Houston last year. I mean, that was phenomenal.
Sure.
Yeah, when he just lost his mind, fully well knowing he was going to be ejected for his actions, but losing his mind and supporting his team and all that was fun. So I think sometimes it's those blow-ups are a lot of fun. I think the constant nagging by some managers is a little bit too much, and that's a beatdown. Sure.
It is. You're right, but I do miss the days when, you know, Lou Piniella or somebody like that would come out and, you know, argue with the. But if it's every night, it gets old. But to feel like you can't even, you know, question it without getting tossed, but that's the rule.
Balls and strikes, you can't.
Right.
Everybody knows that. It's instilled in our brain since we first pick up a plastic bat and a plastic ball. It boggles my mind that he wonders why he was tossed. Mm-hmm. Have you not been playing the sport of baseball since you were knee-high to a grasshopper?
Yeah.
Do you not know you cannot argue balls and strikes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Somebody else said this press conference reminded me of certain I'm a Man press conference a few years ago with regard to Mike Gundy. And our colleague, Mike Gustafson, texted me and said that college baseball 100% does send people out to watch umpires just like hoops. That makes sense. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
And I'm sure college football does.
Yeah, right.
College volleyball and college tennis and
everybody. Yeah.
Whatever.
You ever, you're not quite out to pasture yet with your kids because they're still competing, but like when they're done, would you ever do high school basketball officiating or tennis officiating or something like that?
Definitely not high school basketball.
Okay.
Definitely not high school basketball. I don't know about the other. No.
I mean, you'd probably
How
be
soon would Jamie throw people out if he was an official in a high school basketball game? Like, we're talking fans. Like, he would eject the entire fan.
Yeah, I mean, drop a candy wrapper.
The girls and guys can
out.
keep playing. The fans get the heck out of here.
Yeah, I think there'd be a lot of tossing going on there.
But I think you'd be good in an umpire's chair for tennis.
We'll see.
Yeah, you think that'd be a good role for you? I don't know if it's because you guys have been doing this on the bottom line where you're making your annual blind projections, and I noticed with all the schools that you have been promoting the different colors that you're supposed to wear with regard to Baylor or BYU or Utah or things like that. And now Texas Tech has announced its colors that you're to wear for your first 4 home games. Do you think they heard you talk about that and they're like, hey, you know what? The fact that these other schools have already announced it and people can kind of get an early look at their wardrobe and not have to wonder, you know, week 3 what they're supposed to wear, we're going to go ahead and do that.
Truth be told, it's the reason that we're mentioning or I'm mentioning them is because we want to laugh at them because because it's like blackout dash wear black. Like, oh, we thought we were going to wear gold. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the everywhere you wear white dash wear white. Like, I think we figured it out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's why we're bringing it up to the comedic value of it.
I got you. I've also noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, like the last 2 times that you guys have done your blind projections, you have 2 10-win teams already, and you don't have Texas Tech's picks in yet. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Correct.
Does that make you feel like the conference may be a little bit better than what you thought?
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel like there are a couple of good teams that we've already gotten to so far.
So the athletic department announced these color schemes. Fans are asked to wear red for both the August 30th season opener versus Arkansas Pine Bluff, and as well as on October 11th when Texas Tech welcomes KU for homecoming activities on campus. For Kent State, it's a wear white designation in recognition of Tech's annual agricultural game. This used to be just a cotton game, but we're including all the egg producers. Mm-hmm. Okay, which is fine. I'm fine with that. I think the cotton people got a little irritated with that a few years ago, but I think they've gotten over it. And then the next week against Oregon State, East Side, including the student section, wears white, while the West Side wears red. Okay?
Okay.
So
I feel like they kind of messed that one up.
What would you have preferred them would do?
West white, W makes it easier to remember.
Oh, yeah.
I think we should probably be smart enough. Figure it out.
Yeah. I think we're smart. I think we're smart that way. Yeah. I mean, they have, East Side wear white, West Side wear red. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then to be announced, Oklahoma State, BYU, and UCF. UCF is the last game of the season. Okay. Boy, this is scary. My uncle is an official, and he's had to pull his gun several times because of idiot parents. Wow. Goodness gracious.
Wow.
Man. Pull his gun. Goodness gracious. Wow. That is, that's a bit much, I think, but scary. 6:40 this morning here on the morning drive. Somebody asked on the chat line, Chuck, didn't you get kicked out of a basketball game? I did. I got kicked out of as a player in 9th grade because I shoved a guy after I ran into him, and a little girl basketball game because I simply asked the officials to call it both ways.
An original argument there by the fans in the crowd.
Right, and unbeknownst to me, it was the officials had already been, because I didn't get there at the start, the officials had already had heard enough from the peanut gallery. And so they got rid of this peanut.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
For this day in sports history, today is June the 24th, 2025. 6 months from today, it'll be Christmas Eve, Jamie.
Awesome.
6 months ago, it was Christmas Eve, Jamie. Okay? Here's Jeff McGuire.
That math checks out. 1936. Rookie outfielder Joe DiMaggio ties 3 Major League Baseball records in the Yankees' 10-run 5th inning against the White Sox, hitting 2 home runs for 8 total bases. Yankees beat the White Sox 18-4. 1947, future Baseball Hall of Famer Jackie Robinson steals home for the very first of his 19 times in his career as the Dodgers beat the Pirates 4-2.
19 steals of home.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
1979, Ricky Henderson makes his Major League debut for the Oakland Athletics. Anybody want to guess what happened?
Stole the base.
Stole the base in his first game.
Ding, ding, ding.
1992 NBA draft, first pick from the Orlando Magic.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Correct, sir. And in 2015, former Red Raider Nate Carnes gets a hard luck no decision, pulling a Davis Martin, after going 6 innings of 3-hit ball, losing 1-0 to the Blue Jays. Little run support goes a long way, guys.
Yes.
Just going to throw that out there. Happy National Pralines Day.
I'm out.
Lionel Messi, 38. Robbie Ross, 36. And J.J. Redick is 41. And on this day, 1970, on an amendment offered by Senator Robert Dole, for a Republican from Kansas, to the Foreign Military Sales Act, the Senate votes 81-10 to repeal the Tonkin Gulf Resolution. In 1964, after North Vietnamese torpedo boats attacked U.S. destroyers in what became known as the Tonkin Gulf Incident, President Johnson asked Congress for a resolution authorizing the president to take all necessary measures to defend Southeast Asia. He would get it. This removed it. Johnson had used it to increase U.S. commitment to the war in Vietnam. Repealing the resolution was meant as an attempt to limit presidential war powers. And that, this day in sports history.
All right, this day in sports history. Thanks, Jeff. Take your thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com for that of the mobile app. The Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. Ty Cobb leads with 54 steals of home.
So 19 doesn't seem like that many.
I know. He did 50 with Detroit in the American League and 4 with Philadelphia in the National League for a total of 54.
I feel like it was a different game, though, when he was doing it.
Sure.
Like, significantly different game.
A guy named Max Carey, who played for Pittsburgh and for Brooklyn, had 33 to lead senior circuit stealers of home. So it goes like this. Ty Cobb, 54. Max Carey, 33. George Burns, 28. Honus Wagner at 27. Probably from a modern era, you would look at Jackie Robinson tied with Frankie Frisch at 19. Rod Carew, maybe the most, in terms of, in the 60s, 70s, had 17.
Which is crazy to me. I mean, my recollection of Rod Carew was a terrific hitter, no
Absolutely.
doubt, but no speed whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'd agree with that. Let's see. Jose Cardinal had 10. Paul Molitor had 10. Babe Ruth had 10. They're all tied for 32nd on the list. Those are names that, and I think I don't know if I mentioned Lou Gehrig. He had 15 stolen bases of home. So yeah, I would agree with you. And Jose Cardinal was a big guy too. He wasn't like big, but he was. My recollection of him is small. Is big. Is bigger than small. Does that make any sense? Bigger than small. Not large. He's not Aaron Judge.
Okay.
I still can't forgive Jose Cardinal for not swinging at a pitch and taking a third strike to end Game 5 of the 1980 World Series. He was a pickup player there, and he was in for his bat, and he didn't use it.
Bad deal.
Yeah, especially with runners in scoring position. Just, I think the headline in the paper the next day was, "Jose, can't you see?" It's a little rough. Or maybe that was my headline. 6:51 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. We'll have Ranger baseball on for you tonight. Astros as well. Astros play at 6:40. They're taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. And the Rangers are in Baltimore. And they'll take on the Orioles tonight. The broadcast time 5, and then play-by-play at 5:35 tonight from Baltimore. I just said Baltimore just kind of, I don't know if that's how the locals say it or not, but I think that's it. I think that's how they do.
Do you think that's how they say it?
I think that's how they say it, yeah. Baltimore.
What do you think, Jeff?
Sorry, I was listening to a news break.
Okay.
What?
How do
Yeah, I
the
agree.
locals say Baltimore? Do they say Baltimore or Baltimore?
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Okay.
I've never heard anybody else ever say it other than Baltimore.
Well, that
Have you ever heard somebody say Baltimore?
I don't know. It seems to me that I have, but maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I just slurred it and then I've made it up in my mind. It's possible, because
This is one of those moments where I doubt your 70%. That you say you only bring 30% of the grief on yourself. 70% is made up by us.
yeah,
Like 70? Really?
there's no D in Baltimore. Baltimore. Yeah, I know. Baltimore.
Well, there was last night. They didn't give up a single run.
Right. So he was big. No, not so big. Oh, small. No, big. Got it. I think. Yeah.
That checks out.
You might be new to this show, or maybe you're not. No. Ty Cobb came in with spikes high as a catcher. I might have stepped aside. Yeah. That's always the thing when you hear those things about Ty Cobb and other things that are not very complimentary.
Yeah, this seems like people didn't think very highly of him.
Yeah, because it always.
Yeah, other players.
Yeah, they always talk about how he sharpened his spikes, and
Even in did they even take a shot at him at Field of Dreams?
yeah.
That
They
even
said he wanted to come play, but none of us liked him while he was alive. So
they told him to stick it.
yeah,
Told him to stick it. Yeah. That's right. That makes sense. Well, at least they were consistent, right? They were consistent. Yeah, some of it I bring on myself. You're right.
some of it.
Some. Chuck does not deserve everything he gets. I will be the first to say that.
I deserve a lot.
He
of
does get some of the stuff he deserves.
it. Yeah, there's no doubt.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
This morning here on the Morning Drive. Thank you for being with us with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you from the First United Bank studio. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet973.com for that of the mobile app. The Visual Edge IT hotline, it too is open at 806-771-0973. We look forward to hearing from you today on the Yates Flooring Center chat line and the Visual Edge IT hotline. All right, I want to get to this with regard to the NCAA scholarship limits, which I guess are not going to be limited. It's a continued, deregulation of what we're seeing as an entity. I'm not sure there are any regulations anymore. The regulations are that there are no regulations. So this is from CBS Sports. And the headline is NCAA removes scholarship limits, aligns with House settlement as roster sizes evolve in the new college sports era. So they're saying now the NCAA will no longer maintain sports-specific scholarship limits, as Division I Board of Directors yesterday formally adopted new roster limit rules to align with the recently approved House settlement. These changes go into effect July 1st. For example, football will have a roster cap of 105 players. Previously, you could only have 85 of them on scholarship, and you could have, as they term here, this is their word. It's a word that I use, but this is their word in the article. Previously, teams were allowed to carry a bevy of walk-ons to fill out their rosters. So bevy is like an infinite number.
Okay.
They could have had as many as they want, a bevy of them. Previously, you had 85, so you can have 20 more scholarships, and then you can't have more than 105 players. The other thing is, as I understand this, and
That's good for 20 walk-ons on your football team.
yeah,
Not good for the other 20-ish that
And there's going to be some.
They don't have to go home, but they can't stay here.
They also these new roster limit rules include legislated exemptions for current athletes with remaining eligibility, ensuring they will not lose their roster spots if their teams must constrict to fall within the House settlement limits outlining the roster sizes. So in effect, they're grandfathered in while schools adopt over time the new regulations.
And that's one of the things that we talked about a few months ago when we talked about this, is that, you don't want to punish the kids that, came here thinking I'll be a walk-on, and, our kids that are good student athletes, and, you don't want to punish those kids. It's one thing to tell Coach McGuire and his staff, hey, don't bring more of them in. Don't make promises you can't keep.
Right.
But for the ones that you already made promises to, let them finish it out. And so that's where it makes sense with the grandfathering thing.
And I wonder how many of those kids who thought they were going to get cut or were told, hey, you're not going to make the cut, it might be wise for you to go find another school at a lower level, that if they had stayed and not gone into the transfer portal or even transferred,
I would imagine a lot of the walk-ons weren't hitting the portal.
No, but I mean some of those guys that were at the tail end, like last year at the tail end of that 83, 84, 85 number, that had scholarships but were told, you might want to find another spot because I don't think we're going to have room for you with the newbies that we're bringing in and the transfers that we're bringing in. The attrition, that there was going to be some reason or cause for attrition. So there might have been some guys that have been like, well, I don't think I'm going to make the cut, so I'm going to go to Sheboygan State because they've got a spot for me and I'll get to play there. So there might be two aspects of it. One, finding a place where you can, or a level where you can compete or play if you still feel like you got something left in the tank. And you may have graduated. You may have graduated early from Texas Tech. You may have a year left, or you may have your, redshirt year left, and it may be an opportunity for you to go somewhere and hone your skill a little bit and see if you still got something left and pick up a graduate degree or something along those lines. The other question that I have is, and this is kind of exactly where I was headed, what about baseball and softball roster limits? It's not no more so the roster limits, it's the scholarships. I mean, it's like you're going to have the roster limits because the Big 12 has certain rules, like what, you can take 28 on the road or something like that. Is that correct?
I think it's 30 now.
Okay. But you don't have scholarships for all 30 of those players because you've allocated 11 and a half or 12 and a quarter or whatever the number is. So some schools will go ahead and fully fund their baseball program or fully fund their track program or fully fund some of these other scholarships where they'll go, since we don't have to worry about this now, we've got the money to be able to do this, and we're going to still have our $20.5 million. We're not going to use some of that to pay for scholarships. We're going to use that to pay our players, and so you're going to have this situation where you might have a team that has 25 scholarship baseball players, and we may only have 12.5. And Coach Kidley talked about this recently. He was talking about with regard to track. Some teams are going to have fully loaded, very deep track teams, and we potentially are not because we're not going to have a full scholarship track team. Now, the other question I have on this is, at some point in time, the Title IX folks are going to go, whoa, 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 whoa. If you're going to have X number for the guys, you got to have X number for the girls. Or does that get just thrown out with the bathwater?
Who knows? Yeah, as far as baseball goes, I mean, I can't speak to softball and track, but there's I think a pretty good article on WTSportsNetwork.com. Talks about the Red Raider baseball team looking for quality, not quantity, in the transfer portal. And the reason that this is important is because, first and foremost, you're cutting down from 40 players to 34 players. Okay, you can only have 34 on the roster now. Just like football, some can be guaranteed or grandfathered in, and so you may have a couple extra, okay, than just your 34, and that's for all teams, okay? But you have to immediately have 6 less players on your roster than you had last year. So for Red Raider fans that are wondering why Tech hasn't loaded up on a bunch of transfer portal guys, well, you have to be really choosy because you have only so many spots available. And that's for everybody in college baseball now. And then the big question comes that, yes, now everybody can have full 34 scholarships, but how many is your particular school going to actually fund? And I think I've heard there's a couple in the Big 12 that'll go full 34. I don't expect the Red Raiders to be anywhere close to that.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, gentlemen, we're talking Red Raider football today.
Okay.
Taking a little peek-see at the schedule. And my question for you guys today is, what game do you feel like most Red Raider fans are putting into the win column that you think you are more scared about than Tech fans are?
Putting in the win, Kent State.
You're nervous about Kent State?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just immediately threw that out there. Kent State. Could be home or away, right?
Or neutral, if there was a neutral one on the schedule. There's not, but it would be allowed.
I think it's the Utah game. I think because of what they did last year and what they didn't do last year, and their fans have been kind of mouthy about the Big 12 and how they were going to kind of rule the roost and how they haven't. And so now we haven't played them yet. We haven't played at their place yet. Even though it's a road game, it'll be our first road game of the season. I think that's one that if you were to stop 1,000 cars out here at 6th and Avenue Q, I think 700 and some would say, "Yep, Utah, we're going to beat them." So I'll go with Utah.
Okay.
Oregon State. It's your first real game. I know it's at home. You have not fared well in your first real game or your first road game in the last 3 years.
It's not a road game.
I know it's a home game. You have not fared well in your first real game or your first road game the last 3 years. So that would be the first one that I'm worried about.
I think because I'm picking Utah, but it doesn't have anything to do with their fans being mouthy. I think everybody looks at Utah and goes, "Oh, they were terrible last year. They'll be terrible again." I mean, the history of that program has been that they're a really good team, and a physical football team that makes it really tough on you both offensively and defensively. Plus, you're going on the road. So I think that's a really good answer. I think another one for me, I don't know how good of a team they are going to be, but I just know that every time we go to West Virginia, it's a dogfight. I mean, and we've won some. Don't get me wrong. We've won some. And it's at the end of the year. I don't know exactly what each team is playing for. It's Thanksgiving weekend, all the above. I just think that one scares me a little bit more than I feel like everybody. And I if I was a betting man, I had to bet today on that game, I would still bet on the Red Raiders. I just don't think it's as easy as most Tech fans have it down for.
And maybe, too, a game that people would feel like is a patsy game is UCF on November 15th.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I feel better about that one because it's a home game.
No, I get you. You could similarly say something about Oklahoma State. Are we feeling a little overconfident based on their lack of performance last year at 0-9?
Man, their quarterback situation has me thinking they're going to be pretty bad again. Yeah, I don't think that's a team that's taking a big step forward this year. They may not go over, but wouldn't shock me at all for them to be 2-7, 3-6 in Big 12 play.
Yeah. I heard you and Choice talking about this yesterday. That
Listening into our conversations.
no, I was eating my lunch.
Kidding, Chuck.
Eating my lunch, listening to your conversation. Yeah. That you feel like that Kansas is an overlooked team this year. Just based on the fact that they didn't perform last year, and there were a number of close games, and I mean they bring back a quarterback, although he's had his struggles staying healthy.
He's had his troubles giving the ball to the other team too.
Yeah,
And that was really the problem with you losing all those close games early on in the season. He got that fixed towards the end of the year, and they were a tough out at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Almost fought their way back into the postseason.
Yeah. They're 23-2 in the series against KU. Tech has won each of the last 4, including 16-13. That was a exciting game near the end of the 2023 season. Kansas was ranked 16th at the time. This is from Texas Tech's notes.
Yeah, you can be 23-2 against the Jayhawks, but every time somebody brings that up, I start seething over the 2 losses. I mean,
Yeah.
it was embarrassing.
Yeah, the old was it 2001 here. Cliff comes in and throws an interception in place of BJ, who got hurt, I believe, and then the botched kick return in Lawrence there a couple of years ago.
The botched field
Was it
goal
botched
block,
field goal block? Yeah, there you go.
where we blocked the field
Yeah,
goal
blocked the
and
field goal.
handed Kansas the ball back.
Yeah, and gave him another shot. So we'll see. That game is October 11th. That'll be your first.
I don't think it was Cliff that came in and threw the interception. I think you had that flip-flopped.
BJ came in and threw the interception?
BJ came in place of an injured Cliff, I think.
Okay. Maybe so. One of them, it was an overtime game, and there was an interception that ended the game.
Correct.
Yeah.
I believe that to be true. I don't believe that it was Kingsbury
Kingsbury. Okay.
who came on in relief.
Okay. This from
Yes, it was Simmons.
Simmons.
It was 2 for 9 in the
Okay.
game with an interception.
Okay. All right, stand corrected there.
Yeah.
All right, but Cliff was in, and he got hurt, and then BJ came in for him, right?
Correct.
Okay. Let's see. Chuck knows how to endear himself to the loyal listeners. P.S. I watch Channel 11 every night, Karen and Abner for life. Abner's a listener of the Morning Drive. Did you know that? He peeks in occasionally.
It's great.
Yeah. Utah game is the Ute Pride game. Lots of motivation. Okay. BYU is going to be rough. Yeah. No, it's going to be rough. I don't think anybody's overlooking that game, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
On the Morning Drive, good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Hour 3 of 3 of the Morning Drive. Hour from now, it's the end of the bench on 100.7 The Score. See what those smart guys have to say this morning. And Dan Patrick on Double T 97.3 an hour from now. Don't forget Tech Talk this afternoon. A brief edition, so they'll be smart early and often from 3 until 5 today. And then Ranger Baseball takes over as the Rangers are in Baltimore to take on the Orioles for Game 2 of 3. Rangers losing last night. That game, Matt Hicks just said there in the Sports Center, was a quick one. 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Okay, that is quick.
Well, when you only get 3 hits and don't have any walks.
Yeah, but the other team scored 6 times.
I understand that. But, you know, it didn't take a whole lot to play your end of things. Rangers are now 38-41. In the division, Jamie, it's starting to slip a little bit. They're 7.5 back of the Astros. They're 8 back in the loss column. They trail the Angels by a half a game. They trail the Mariners by 3 games for position there in the American League West. But then when you look at the wild card race, they're only 3 out. There's a bunch of teams in front of them, but they're only 3 out. Minnesota's 3.5 back. Really, the only team that's out of it The Chicago White Sox, who are 16 back, and the A's are 9.5 back in the wild card race. Yeah, here's the thing: with as good a pitching as you've had, if this keeps up, even in, to quote, the postseason, you're good enough to win a series or two. But you got to start swinging the bat and then hitting the ball with the bat into places where they ain't, and scoring enough runs to win.
We have to start swinging the bat
and hitting the ball.
Hitting the ball.
Right, those two things. You have to swing and hit. Okay, hit the ball that's coming through the strike zone. Okay,
can't be out of the strike zone.
And it can be. You're allowed to swing at bad pitches. Plenty of people have done that.
There are a lot of really good bad ball hitters over the years.
Yeah.
Ichiro, I think, was the best.
My question for you is, as you enter the halfway point, because you're at 79 games. So today is game number 80, and then Wednesday will be game number 81, and you're halfway through the season. So the trade deadline comes up the end of July, and just kind of wondering. Chris Young has said you got to really make a run at things. Well, I mean, you can make a case they've made a run at things. They've won 3 straight road series. They'll have work to do tonight and tomorrow if they want to continue that streak in Baltimore. But have they done enough to prove that they deserve to get a hitter?
I feel like they're close enough to keep going for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of how much you have to give up. What kind of prospect are they looking for?
Asset, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're looking for prospect number 1 for the Rangers, you're probably like, nah, not worth it.
Mm-hmm. This from the 8 Swing Center chat line. Thank you for that, Chuck. I forgot how baseball works. You're welcome. You are welcome. Chuck, send in resume for hitting coach. No.
No?
No.
No, you don't want to take Boone's job?
I don't. If I were going to be anything, I would want to be the first base coach. Because it feels like to me the first base coach is just a glorified cheerleader. Okay? I mean, he's over there going, hey, come on. You got it. And then when they come over to first base, there's just a little whisper, hey, there's one out here. Okay? The ball's hitting the gap. You go. If the ball's hit, to center, you hold until because you don't want to go and you don't want to get doubled off a second. If there's 2 outs, then you're going on everything. I mean, anybody could do that, right?
The first base coach actually has more contact with the players than
I know,
the third
but
base
you're just talking to him. Third base coach's got to remember all the signs, and I don't think I could do that. I'm here to tell you.
Not necessarily true. I mean, for the Red Raiders, when Coach Tadlock's in the dugout, gets the signs from there. The third base coach he's just chilling.
He's just chilling like Magellan. Most of those third base coaches over there, see him going through all these geriatrics. I mean, I just couldn't remember it. I couldn't remember.
If your head coach is in the dugout, he's calling the signs. Then your third base coach is not doing that much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You forgot that they're supposed to yell, "Come on, Bobby! Let's go, Bobby boy! Let's go, Bobby!
Come on, J-Mac! Let's get a hit! Be a hitter! Swing alive! See, I've got all that down.
Swing alive.
The problem with Chuck being the first base coach would be he would spend too much time talking to the first baseman to remember he needed to be talking to the guy who was standing on first base
after the ball
wearing his uniform.
The first base umpire.
Fans along the first base line.
The opposing dugout.
Oh, yeah. All those things. Well, usually, like for the home games, your dugout is the first base side. So, yeah. You realize, everybody, I'm being just a little facetious here. Yeah. Somebody said a little more to it than that, Chuck. Thank you, J-Bob. I think you're forgetting what a hitting coach does during practice in the off season, not just in games. Yeah. But I do think I do think, though, that if the Rangers can stay close, if you could get the bats to wake up a little bit, you could be a pretty good baseball team because your pitching has been so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even need to be an elite offense.
Yeah. Just
a decent one.
Yeah, just a decent one.
Have a pulse.
Because, oh, by the way, you realize that Tex home dugout is third. Yeah, it used to be at first, and most teams in the big leagues. I want to be a big league first base coach. Okay, because that's a lot easier. The travel's a lot easier. You know, hotels, post game spread, all those things.
You're gonna go big.
Yeah, go big.
Go big.
Skip right to it, right?
Right. Yeah.
The Rangers lead the league in least runs allowed at 272. The Rangers have only scored 10 more runs than Jeff, your Chicago White Sox at 282.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.